Laura Henry, and I am a craft dabbler, and I'm also a close to my heart consultant. Today I have 3 projects for you using the August Stamp of the Month set for the love of crafting. I'm going to leave links below for all of the other supplies that I have used. This stamp set is only available in August, and if you purchase $50 from Close to My Heart, you can get this stamp set for $5. On the packaging, there's a black outline around that center stamp that says "Craft today, do housework tomorrow." And that lets us know that that is able to be cut out on the Cricut. And it gives the dimensions and the page number if you had the book that went with that cartridge, which they've done away with, so I don't know about that. But it does give the dimensions there. So I'm going to show you how I cut that out in my Cricut. So I opened up the Cricut design space and I went to the search bar at the top and I selected cartridges and I typed in "You Are Here," and then I searched for that cartridge. It came up and I selected it, and because I own it, and now I'm just searching through for that shape. It's going to look different because it has some different words in it, and there it is, "Enjoy the little things," and that's not a problem because that's a layer, and we can remove the layer with the writing and just use that outline shape for our project. So first I'm going to change the size, or I'm going to change it from horizontal or vertical to horizontal first, I guess. Then I select it and I ungroup it, and then I moved that top layer off, and then I just deleted it off of there. Next I changed the color to white, and then I'm going to change the size, and I'm just highlighting the size up at the top, and I'm looking to see, it says 1.5 inches, so I wasn't sure if that was the width or height, and so I kind of figured that out, and now I'm saving it and renaming it. But then I decided that I wanted to make some a square with a word on it that would go with the typewriter, and it's going to say "Happy Birthday." So I went back in after I saved that and I created an additional cutout to use, in my cards. So I just went over to the left where it says text and I typed in "Happy Birthday." And then you can, after you've done that, then you can, while it's still selected, go up to the fonts and then choose the drop down box, and then you can look through the different fonts that are available to you. And I was looking for something that looked typewritten, so I finally found what was, I thought was pretty good. I selected it and then it changed it on the design space. I tried a couple different ones. Then I'm just going to resize that, and I went and measured my typewriter, and it was about, I think, 1.5 inches. I ended up going back and resizing that again too, because I went with the whole width of the typewriter, but you really only need it to be within the boundaries of that carriage on the typewriter. So these words, right, if I left it as it is, it would cut them out. And so I'm going over to the menu and I'm changing it from cut to a write. And you could also print it, but I wanted to use the pen in the stylus holder on the Cricut to write this out. Then I'm going to make a box and I'm going to attach this word to the white box, and then it would write it on the white paper and then cut it out so they'll be attached. So there I finished sizing it and making it a writing, a word that would write. I'm not sure why I'm taking so much time right here, but then I'm going to go over here to the shapes and I'm going to choose a square, and it comes out black. And I'm going to change the size and the color. So I unlocked the proportions because I didn't need it to be a complete square. I changed the colors. I'm kind of doing things in a weird order here, I guess. And now I'm going to go up and change the size, and I believe I made it like 1.5 inches tall and 2 inches wide, I think. I did go back later and make it smaller because, like I said, I made it too big the first time. Also, I sent that box to the back so you can go up and you can say arrange and then move to the back, and then you can see the writing on top of it. And then I selected both of it, and then I went to align and then center. So now it is perfectly centered horizontally and vertically. And then I'm going to go over and I need to, while they're both selected, and then I need to select attach. And that way it will write on that white piece and it will cut it out. So I'll get back to that later. Right now I'm showing you that this is the stamp of the month that's in the back of the August catalog, and this is the last month for this catalog as well. So if you want this stamp set, you have to get it in August. And those are all of the different images that you get on there. And in this project today, I used every one of those stamps except for one. And I don't know if you're like me, mostly I make birthday cards. So, you know, these were really craft oriented, and so I worked to make some birthday cards out of this. I don't know if you've seen the Make It From the Heart templates. There's a volume 3 and volume 4. Volume 3 is scrapbooking layouts. Volume 4 is card making templates, and they're a really good starting point to show you how to lay out some cards. So I'm using that, and I'm showing you in the book where it's at, and it gives the dimensions of the paper so you know how to cut the paper. So I've pre-cut my papers, and I made extras in case I messed some up, which came in handy today. And so I'm just separating those out. And I did make one typewriter ahead, but I'm going to show you how I made it so that you can see. So I had so many stamps that I used the fronts and backs of my acrylic blocks. And there I'm using the black ink, and I'm going to ink it up on in the black ink and put it on that that's the close to my heart paper, and I get a really good stamped image there. I'm using the back side of my mat that's called the Versa mat, and the front side of it is, you know, you can stamp on it and clean it off, and the back side is spongy, and so you can stamp right on it. And I pick it up and show it to you later. And there I just showed you, I just fussy cut it out that typewriter. My card base are the pre-packaged cards that you can get from Close to My Heart. And so I'm just taking my different elements and I'm using the I think it's dual action glue pen. Let me look, dual action glue pen. And so I'm just following that template and I'm adhering that to the left side. And then these are banner cuts. And so I just put a slit down the center, and then I went from both edges up and met it in the center to make that banner edge. And I'm going to glue that one on flat, and I kind of just overlapped it but put it to the right of that first section. And then the other one, I just wanted a little bit of dimension, so I'm using some of the foam tape to give it that dimension. This foam tape comes in two different sizes, and so I'm using the wider tape on that. There's actually a real skinny one that I like too. That's the newer paper is double-sided, and there's a lighter and a darker side, and I thought the darker side coordinated better, so I'm putting the glue on the lighter side. And the dual action glue pens come in two widths, and I ended up getting that real chunky one out because it was going to cover more area. And then I'm putting a little bit of glue at the bottom of that. That's that happy birthday that I cut out for my typewriter. And I'm gluing that so it looks like it's poking out of the typewriter. And then I'm using the, let's see, that's like it's a pokey tool, but I'm using that to curl up the edges of the paper there. And I'll write the name in the description below because it's not really called a pokey tool. And so I'm just cutting 3 pieces of foam tape on the back of that because I want to give my typewriter a little bit of dimension too. So it just adds a little extra interest to your card and makes it special. And that's why I like to do that. And I also felt like it needed just a little bit of extra something. And so I have these little enamel black dots, and so I used one of the medium size and 2 of the smaller, and then I put 3 on the left and 3 on the right of that, and that ties in the black typewriter, and I think it's pretty cute. So that's the first card. And that's a birthday card using that typewriter. So I like it that this is such a crafty set, but yet I've made birthday cards out of it. And so the next one is that camera, and I used another stamp set because I like the words in it, and it's the comes from A New Adventure Sentiments, and it says perspective is everything, and I love that with that camera. So again, I used the template in the volume 4, and I picked that out, and it gives the dimensions, and so I've pre-cut all my paper, and I used the Enchantment Fundamentals paper pack for the papers, and so that's where I got those. I did use black and white cardstock, and those weren't in the fundamentals packs, and so those would be a little bit extra. And there's the pack there. Um, I'm I've had that for quite a while. I think those complements came with it that are in there, and I just store them in with it. So I'm using that glue again, and I just layered my 2 card pieces. I actually had cut those stripes going the other way, but then you didn't see them. All you saw was a red border on the edge. So then I recut it. And so, you have to pay attention when you're working with stripes to make sure you get them going the right way so that you can really see them. And that's just a plain white cardstock strip down the center. And in hindsight, I wish I would have stamped the camera first because that actually was glued down really well. And I had a little bit of glue on it, so I just used a regular eraser to get that glue off. But as I was saying, here I've got that glued down, and then I go to stamp my camera. If I hadn't gotten a good stamp, then I would have had to pitch this whole card or cover it up with another piece of paper. But lucky for me, that came out really well. But I think it's a little risky to stamp your image before or after you've glued it down. So then I'm stamping the words on, and I got a really good stamp with that too. And then I wanted to use these red, they're not called enamel dots, but again, I'll put a link down below for these. And I'm using glue. They had sticky on them, but the sticky was kind of sticking onto the sheet, and so I just used some good glue for this. And I could have used Close to My Heart liquid glass, but I couldn't find it. So I just wanted a really good adhesive, and I had that glue sitting there. So the new catalog is coming out, and Close to My Heart is changing how they do things, and there's going to not be a regular catalog and then a seasonal expressions. They're just going to have one that'll come out every 4 months, and it'll have everything in it. So you don't have to go to 2 catalogs all the time. So that's going to be starting September 1st. So this is the last month to get a lot of the products that I am demonstrating today. So you really, if you're interested in this stuff, you need to get in there and get it. So since this is such a crafty set, I really felt like it would be better in a scrapbook layout. And so I had my husband take some pictures of me in my craft room, which is a total mess, which kind of goes with some of the sayings. And I'm going to make a layout with that. And these are, this is the memory protector is what that's called. And it comes with 4 4x6 slots and then 4 3x4 slots. And you can cut down pictures and stick them in those 3x4 slots, but I chose to take some of the paper from the, let me look, it was the Adventure Fundamentals. There's that mat that I've been working on that's spongy on one side, and I actually have 2 of them. So I'm working on the other side right now, but I wanted that cushion while I was stamping. So I used the little plastic that comes in each of the stamp sets to be my cushion while I was stamping these. So there's my first card. I just kept that simple, and I just stamped into the blue. So there is that white piece that I cut out, and it matches that stamp set perfectly. And I'm going to stamp it into the blue ink, and then I'm going to line it up the best I can. And I stamped 3 of these, stamped them all perfect. So that was a real win for me. But I did have a little bit of a mistake and glued one of those onto the wrong piece of paper, and that's not what I wanted. So I didn't put that in footage into this video, and I just did another one and made it the way I wanted it. So I'm using that dual action glue pen again, and I'm getting it really wet there. If it turns blue, it becomes repositionable, and so you want to make sure you get it on there while it's wet if you want it to be permanently adhered, and that's what I wanted. So there's my second card. And now I'm going to move on to the third card. And this one I just wanted to emboss onto that, and that's when I actually accidentally glued it. So that is a powder tool that removes any oil from my hands, and I'm going to put away the ink, and I'm going to be using pigment ink, which stays a little bit wetter. And I've got these little pigment cubes, and so I'm dabbing that onto the stamp. And I'm going to emboss this. I'm going to be using clear embossing powder because then this blue will show through that clear embossing powder, and it'll just make it really shiny and it'll stand out really well. And so I really want that wet. So I really pounced that on there really good. And I like to put my lids on. And so I just stamped it there right in the middle. And it was kind of hard. I had that typewriter on the back of it and it was hard to kind of see through it, but I think I got it pretty straight. And I'm jiggling. I'm not really rocking that stamp, but I am jiggling it a little bit because I want it to be really good. I want a good impression. But if you rock it and you've got ink somewhere else, you can have an accident there and put ink where you don't want it. So I just want to tell you, I was not rocking, I was wiggling. So now I'm shaking off the excess embossing powder, and I grab my heat tool, and there is the magic right there. I just love embossing to see that. And you see it's got that shine, but it's got the blue ink underneath. Now on my last card, I'm using a piece of white paper, and I just want to show you, that's the Bashful. That was this last year's color of the year, and we're going to be having a new color of the year soon. And I used that to stamp on this next one, but I had already made one of these cards before, and I used the pink, and then I did the clear over it, and you couldn't see it. So I did use the pink ink, but then I used the silver because it says it's talking about glitter, and I wanted it to shine and sparkle. And so you can see there, you can't really see the first one I made, so I decided to change to gray. So I could have used any of my pigment inks because the gray covered it up pretty much, but since I had the pink there and was using it, that's what I decided to use. Now I'm using some of the silver glitter paper and the Bashful glitter paper because my saying talks about glitter. And so I wanted to use a lot of glitter in this one. And I'm looking for my stamp set. I don't see it. I'd tell you what it says. Oh, it says, I craft so hard I sweat glitter, and I think that's really hilarious. So I wanted to use a lot of sparkle on this one. So I put down that paper, and then I put little strips of the silver glitter paper, and now I'm putting on some little silver, or they're clear, but they're little sparkly gems. And I used that really heavy duty glue on this because there's a lot of texture on this glitter paper, and I wanted to make sure that it stuck really well. And it has that texture, but I rubbed my hand across it and showed you my finger because I wanted you to see no glitter came off. So it's not messy paper, but it does have a lot of texture to it, and it's a really heavy duty paper. So this was my thickest card that I made, and it went in the pocket okay, but it was a tighter fit. I could have gone a little bit smaller on this card here. And that's the fourth and final card that I'm putting to embellish my scrapbook page. But then I did have in mind some of these little sayings to make those and put them on top of the pictures. So here I'm starting to put them in, and then I was like, oh no, I remembered I wanted to put these other pages. And so these are the little cutouts that I made, but I'm going to show you how I made them. So I just grab a piece of paper, and I'm back at the Sapphire ink again, and I'm just stamping that on the bottom. And I didn't have a little foam pad underneath it, but I did get a really good impression. And then I'm grabbing the new paper trimmer that just came out in the last seasonal expression book, and that's a little Fisker's cutter. It's for photos. It's called the photo trimmer, and that cut that really well, and it was so light and easy just to grab that to cut that off. And so this is the other little one that says, if you can't stand the mess, get out of the craft room. That was perfect for my layout. And it had a nice little box around it, so it made it really easy to fussy cut it. and they're kind of cockeyed, you know, they're not real straight on there. And so I didn't end up cutting them completely apart. I could have, but I wanted to leave them stuck together. So I cut them out, and then I just went through and made kind of an angle cut in there to separate them, but not all the way. And so then I'm going to lay out the pictures and my little cards that I made onto the sleeve and just arrange them. And I kind of went like pink, blue. And then I arranged the pictures. I kind of already had that figured out where I wanted the pictures to go. And then I decided where I wanted to glue those. And I used that strong glue again, and I put it directly on the photos. And, you know, there's probably people's heads are spinning to see me do something like that, but you know, honestly, I just don't care. I think it's fine, you know, to do that. This scrapbook will probably outlive me, and down the road nobody's going to care about that. So anyway, I'm just trying to decide where it would look the best, and I thought it was a little bit wide, so I cut the ends off just with my scissors and gluing it on the picture. The only thing I'd say is you don't want the glue squishing out from under that, so I just put the glue in the center of it, of those little cutouts. And so now I'm just loading, and this is such a quick and easy way to scrapbook. Scrapbooking does not have to be hard and complicated. It's as easy as sliding pictures in these little protectors and adding a few little embellishments, and that is a really pretty page. So that concludes the 3 projects, and I thank you so much for watching this with me. And if you don't have a close to my heart consultant, I would be more than happy to sell these things to you. And like I said, they're going to be going fast because at the end of August, it's over. So there's how you get in touch with me. And thanks again for watching. Bye.